There are many important characters in The Last of Us who have made a huge impact on its story. Ellie's immunity gave people a reason to believe that there could be a cure to the cordyceps. Joel's decision to kill the Fireflies resulted in all hope of that vaccine being lost. Abby's desire to avenge her father led to many people dying. As these are the three main characters in the franchise, it makes sense that the choices they made were so important. But if there is one character who is the most responsible for how The Last of Us' story played out, I would say that character is none other than Riley. Interestingly enough, Riley didn't appear in either the original game or The Last of Us Part 2, being a character who was introduced in the American Dreams comic and died in the Left Behind DLC. She was a minor character, but without her, Ellie wouldn't have discovered her immunity and Joel wouldn't have any reason to take her to the Fireflies. Unfortunately, in order for Ellie to learn that she couldn't get infected, she had to get attacked by a group of runners, one of which bit Riley. But what if Riley didn't get bit? How different would The Last of Us' story be? As an aspiring author with a passion for storytelling, I've thought of how I would continue Riley's arc if she didn't die so soon and how the rest of the story would be affected as a result. First, let's look at who Riley was becoming at the end of Left Behind. We know that she was a fighter who was determined to make an impact on the world, but that she also didn't want to leave Ellie, and that she decided to prioritize their relationship over her goals. She could quickly react to any situation she faced, but was also quite stubborn. With that in mind, I think that she would have stayed with Ellie until she died and would be relieved when she didn't show any signs of turning after a few days. Not knowing what to do, the two girls would go to Marlene, just like Ellie did in the actual game. The Firefly leader would be angry with Riley for being gone for so long, but Riley wouldn't care and would refuse to leave her girlfriend. Marlene would still search for Robert and run into the smugglers, but instead of asking them to just bring Ellie to the Capitol building, she would ask them to take Riley too. This wouldn't bother Tess, but Joel would be even more annoyed than he was in the actual game, now having to deal with two kids. Everything from leaving Boston to the suburbs chapter would play out almost exactly the same, except Ellie wouldn't be looking to bond with Joel as much as she has Riley with her, Bill would be making fun of the smuggler more, and Riley would be more determined to fight. She would feel guilty for Tess's death and would not want anyone else to suffer the same fate. Joel would be hesitant to let Riley fight at first, just like he was with Ellie, but would give her a gun sooner as he knows that she has more experience and is quick to react to any enemies they face. The next major change in the story will be when Riley manages to save Sam's life, killing the infected that bit him in the game. Because of this, the brothers stick with the teenage girls and their babysitter for a much longer period of time. Joel starts opening up to Henry and cares about all three kids. As we saw in The Last of Us Part 2, Joel could be a very kind person who cares about others. He just needed to be in the right environment to bring out that side of him. I think that being in this group would have that same effect, especially after Henry and Sam learn about Ellie's immunity. As a few months had passed in between the suburbs and Tommy's Dam chapters, in which it is believed that Joel and Ellie were traveling on foot the entire time, I don't think it would be likely for the brothers to still be unaware of Ellie's immunity by the time their group meets Tommy. Henry and Sam would probably be unsure if Ellie was really immune, but after learning her story, they wouldn't treat Ellie any differently. As they would have no intentions of hurting her, Joel would start to see that there are still trustworthy people in the world. While he isn't as close to the immune girl due to them being with other people, Joel cares enough about all of them to see his mission through until the end. So when he reunites with Tommy, he doesn't ask his brother to take his place. Because of this, they don't get into their argument, nor does Ellie run away. After the Millers catch up and Tommy tells Joel to go to the University of Eastern Colorado, they go their separate ways and wish each other well, Tommy telling Joel and his comrades that they can come to Jackson whenever they want. At the university, the group learns that the Fireflies went to St. Mary's Hospital before getting attacked by the cannibals. However, Joel doesn't get nearly as hurt as he did in the actual game, as he has his comrades fighting by his side. Because of this, they travel straight to the hospital, never going to the lakeside resort. When they get close to their destination, Riley and Ellie are in front of everyone else, Joel is in the middle, and Henry and Sam are behind him. Joel falls into the bus he and the girls used as a bridge, and just like in the actual game, Ellie goes after him. Riley follows her, and Henry holds Sam back from following, hoping that they'll be alright. The two brothers start looking for a new way to get to the hospital, while Ellie nearly drowns. Joel saves her, and when he swims to the surface, the Fireflies knock him out. Before they can hurt Riley, she shows them her pendant, which she never gave back to Marlene, and tells them who they are. The Fireflies bring Joel to the room that he wakes up in, while Riley follows Ellie to another section of the hospital. When Marlene shows up, she speaks with Riley for a bit, asking her about her journey and telling her how Ellie will be able to save millions of people, not yet knowing that for a vaccine to be made, the immune girl will have to die. Jerry arrives shortly after, so Marlene sends Riley to another room for a couple of hours, not wanting her to hear their conversation. This room is one where the younger Fireflies hang out, and so Riley meets Owen. Marlene and Jerry have the same conversation they had in The Last of Us Part 2, and Joel reacts the same way he did in the original game when learning what the Fireflies intend on doing. As Joel fights his way through the hospital, Riley hears gunshots and runs towards them. She meets up with Joel, and together they save Ellie. As they find their way out of the hospital, they confront Marlene. Since Riley never died, it's not as clear, even to the Firefly leader, whether Ellie would have been willing to sacrifice herself or not. Because of this, the conversation is a bit different, with Marlene desperately trying to convince Riley and Joel that what she is doing is right. Riley kills Marlene and helps Joel bring Ellie into the car. As they drive away, they see Henry and Sam and stop so they can get into the car as well. Joel tells the brothers what had happened and has them, along with Riley, vow to never tell Ellie the truth. While they travel towards Jackson, Abby and her friends learn that Jerry was killed. Abby is obviously heartbroken and infuriated, and Owen sees how her desire to avenge her father can lead her down a dark path. He wants to help her move on from the pain and give her something to look forward to, but in order to do so in the story, he has to keep a secret. That he has an idea of where Joel and the others are. While they only spoke for a couple hours, Riley told Owen about her journey and mentioned Jackson, the only place that she felt she would be welcomed at. Owen hides this information for nearly a year as he, Abby, and the rest of their friends join Wolf. However, as they are forced to fight the Seraphites, Owen decides to give Abby the lead on where her enemies may be. As we can tell from The Last of Us Part 2, out of all the members of the Salt Lake crew, Owen was the one who cared the least about the conflict between Wolf and the Seraphites, and likely only stayed around due to Abby. However, if she had to choose between being a wolf or killing Joel, she would pick the latter, so Owen manages to convince her to leave the group. As the two of them do not plan on returning to Wolf, they only tell Mel and Manny where they're going, as they are the only two members who I think would choose to avenge Jerry over fighting the Seraphites. Over the past year, Joel, Ellie, Riley, Sam, and Henry have adjusted to life in Jackson. Joel, Riley, and Henry often go on patrols, while Ellie and Sam work inside of the community. On a patrol, Henry finds Abby, Owen, Mel, and Manny and brings them to Jackson, thinking that they're just a regular group of kids. While Owen obviously remembers Riley when they first see each other, she has completely forgotten about him. Not being in any rush to return to Seattle, Abby and her friends spend months planning on how they'll kill Joel. During this time, they start hanging out with other people in Jackson, including Ellie, Henry, Sam, Riley, Jesse, and Dina, trying to form close relationships so nobody would suspect them when they kill Joel. One night they break into his house. While Mel and Manny assist Abby in knocking him out in his sleep, Owen keeps watch to make sure nobody hears them. They gag, torture, and kill him with a knife rather than a golf club as it makes less noise. The following day, Riley discovers Joel's body and Maria locks Jackson down. Everyone in the town is questioned, but Abby and her friends use each other as alibis, stating that they were all watching a movie together in the house they share. As the majority of the community thinks that only one person killed Joel, the town believes them, but can't figure out who the murderer is. Not knowing what else to do, Maria creates a new patrol group, one that watches Jackson. Tommy, Ellie, Riley, Henry, and Sam start investigating, going so far as to break into people's homes to try to find any evidence. However, due to the patrol, they have to be extra careful, which slows them down. Eventually, Tommy finds the knife that Abby used to kill Joel and thinks that he discovered who the murderer is. However, the Salt Lake crew was careful and planted the evidence in Seth's house. In this story, Seth never liked Joel, and so it's not a surprise to anyone that he was the supposed murderer. Jackson imprisons the sandwich-making bigot, and things go back to normal for a while, though Joel's loved ones still mourn him. Now that she's gotten away with murder, Abby has another plan. She needs to get Ellie to tell her about her immunity, and then convince her to find a surgeon who could use her to create the vaccine. Ellie and Abby start spending a lot of time together, and one day, the former Firefly invites the immune girl to her house. When Ellie is alone for a moment, she looks around Abby's room, which is in the basement of the house, and finds something that she never should have kept with her, Jerry's pendant. Abby sees Ellie holding it and realizes she made a mistake. Abby and her friends never brought up their connection to the Fireflies, despite knowing Riley and Tommy's background, so why wouldn't Abby ever mention Jerry? Ellie asks her about him, and since the two of them are alone in the room and her friends are in the house, Abby figures that it's time to execute her plan. If Ellie joins her, she gets what she wants. If Ellie fights back, the Salt Lake crew can prevent her from leaving. Abby tells Ellie all about Jerry and how Joel killed him. In this story, Ellie never doubted Joel and their comrades when they told her what happened at St. Mary's Hospital, and all of this information is too overwhelming for her. Panicked, Ellie takes out her knife and attacks Abby. The two girls fight, and the Salt Lake crew runs downstairs. Abby tells them what happened, and they hold Ellie back. However, before they can do anything else to her, Riley and Tommy, who were on patrol together, break into the house, having heard all the commotion. Ellie tells them that Abby and her friends killed Joel and that they were all Fireflies. Upon hearing this, Riley recognizes Owen, and when hearing Jerry's name, Tommy remembers how his former comrade had a baby daughter named Abby. The people of Jackson imprison the Salt Lake crew and give Seth back his freedom, but he decides to leave the town to make bigot sandwiches elsewhere. Riley tells Ellie the truth of what happened at St. Mary's Hospital, and she is devastated, just like she was in the actual game, no longer knowing who she can trust and wishing that she died that day. A few years later, she leaves Jackson, wanting to start a new life. While that's the end of the story, you may want to know what I think would have happened to some of the other characters. Yara would have died from her arm injury, and Lev would be killed by the wolves a day later, who would win the war against the Seraphites. Isaac would still be alive, along with the Salt Lake crew members who hadn't gone to Jackson. Most importantly, the Rat King would still be inside of the Wolf's Hospital, waiting for its next victim. I hope you enjoyed this little story I came up with. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you for watching. Have a wonderful week.